Now let's talk about the Israel-Hamas war. It's in its fifth month. Casualties are mounting, but Israel has a new plan. Prime Minister Netanyahu wants the military to storm Gaza. His focus this time is Rafah, the southernmost city in the Gaza Strip, and the last refuge for fleeing Gazans. Israel has already launched airstrikes there. A ground offensive may happen soon. Israel's allies want this to be called off. They have issued strong warnings. But Netanyahu remains steadfast. He wants to dismantle what he calls the last battalions of Hamas. Is that his only objective, though? Why does he want to storm Rafah, and why is it a red line for his allies? Our next report tells you.
This is the city of Rafah, located in the south of the Gaza Strip, straddling the border of Gaza and Egypt. 3 months ago, it was pegged as a safe haven, the final place of refuge for Gazans. Right now, it's home to 1.4 million Palestinians. They have fled the war in the north, and this is where they are seeking shelter. But is Rafah safe anymore? Last week, the Israeli Prime Minister announced a new offensive, this time in Rafah. He asked his military to enter the city, to dismantle what he called the last bastion of Hamas. The airstrikes have already begun. It targeted different parts of the city. Over 100 people have been killed. The casualties could rise further. Several people remain trapped under the rubble. Israel also launched a special operation. This was to rescue hostages. Over 100 Israelis are still being held hostage. Israel managed to rescue 2 from Rafah.
In a joint rescue operation of the IDF, the Shin Bet, and the police SWAT team, we rescued Louis Hare and Fernando Marmon, who were kidnapped from Nir Yilzak by Hamas on October 7th. This was a complex rescue operation under fire in the heart of Rafah.
A full-scale ground offensive is still on the hold. But Netanyahu says that it will happen soon. His allies are concerned. They are warning Israel to not go ahead with it. The UK says half of Gaza's population is there. The Netherlands has warned of civilian casualties. Saudi Arabia has warned of consequences if Rafah is stormed. And the US said it will be a disaster. So will the Rafah offensive be a red line for Israel's allies? Washington, its strongest ally, wants Israel to come up with an evacuation plan before it launches any offensive in the city. But Netanyahu remains steadfast. The answer lies in his political fortunes. The war is now in its 5th month. Over 28,000 people have been killed. Half of Gaza is under rubble. Netanyahu says victory is within reach. Yet, he hasn't fulfilled his primary objective, getting the hostages back home. Israel has bombed hospitals and residential areas. It has uncovered Hamas tunnels. Yet the hostages, except for the 2 rescued, remain out of reach. Plus, Netanyahu's popularity is sinking. The opposition wants him out, and so do the citizens. Moody's has downgraded Israel's credit rating. People want Netanyahu to take public responsibility for the October 7th attack by Hamas. They blame him for the security failures. So the Israeli Prime Minister is embattled. To survive, he needs a big win. That can only happen if the hostages return home, which explains why Netanyahu is pushing ahead with the Rafah offensive. So will it work out? Rafah is overcrowded right now. Any offensive would lead to hundreds of casualties. And if the hostages are there, they could also lose their lives in the process. Plus, the allies are not enthusiastic about the plan. But the fact of the matter is, they can issue all the warnings they want, but Netanyahu is most likely to go ahead with it. The Israeli Prime Minister is looking for victory, and Rafah seems to be his best chance.